Hi ladies, today in this lecture I'm going to cover the DBQ. You need these things in front of you. You need your DBQ planning document. Please get that out. And then you need the actual DBQ that you picked up in class. And that's it. Okay, so we're going to work with these two documents, have those in front of you. And I want to start with a metaphor. The DBQ, we're going to liken it to a puzzle. Okay, so puzzle's a lot of different pieces, and we're going to fit them together to give us the big picture by the end. So your goal is to give your reader the big picture by connecting all of those pieces until eventually you got a clear representation of what that puzzle fits together to create, in this case, a castle with a moat. Alright, so we're putting together a puzzle. Let's talk about the pieces. So here are our pieces, 7 different documents, and here are our clues and how to put them together, the question itself and the historical background. But right away we know we need to fit these 7 documents together to make sense of the big picture. So in your graphic organizer, let's look at this and let's just start with what do we already know about the Renaissance, because what the question asks us to do is to identify and analyze various perspectives of Renaissance writers. Well, we can already think of 2 really big categories. Okay, so we have early Italian humanism, right? And that's centered on the ideas of classics, humanism, etc. And then we get into Northern humanism, and a major distinction is it's centered around Christianity, but specifically around Christian reform, and of course the classics as well. So they're going to combine elements of early humanism, but focus mainly on writing about Christian reform. So when we know that, we already bring that to the documents, which we already do know. Then as we're looking at the documents, we're thinking, okay, so I'm going to fit the documents into these 2 categories, hopefully. So let's take these categories and let's just see what happens. We'll throw them here. We'll throw this one here. And then we're looking for a category that emerges as our 3rd category. And then once we've classified the documents here, so we're going to throw each document in here and make a little note about it. Then we're going to write our thesis. But we need to look at all the documents first. Okay, so let's just look at the titles. Let's just do that and see what we get. Alright, document 1. Italian humanist, patriarch, in his letters to fellow Italian humanist Boccaccio. Interesting. We know that's an Italian humanist. So even before reading it, we can probably say, and then if we read the first line, "O inglorious age that scorns antiquity," that goes against the classics, that goes against history. Its mother, oh, the Greek and Roman authors gave birth to this age, but yet the Middle Ages, this inglorious age, are such a downer. So we know right away that what he's doing is glorifying the past, the classics, and downplaying the Middle Ages. Ah, well, that one very easily goes here. Document 1. And we could say glorifying classicism while despising the medieval age, or the Middle Ages, right? Okay, so that's document 1. Let's go back. Let's look at a couple more. Document 2, Vergherio, another Italian author. He comes from Carrara, Italy, in a letter to... Oh, we're not even looking at that one. I'm sorry. Disregard that one. Document 2. Bruni, we know him. Bruni, On Learning and Literature. Oh, okay, so that's about learning and literature, the humanities. Oh, so that makes sense. So that's going to be more of the same. Document 2, Bruni and humanism, and we're starting to see a pattern emerge here. In paragraph 2, we're going to group all our Italian humanists and talk about what they're trying to accomplish in their document, and then in our analysis, that's what you're going to have to figure out. How do we go about analyzing those? Okay, so as we continue on, document 3, oh, so now they're Italian Renaissance author, that might go there. This is interesting. This source, her name is Laura. Ah, I don't think there's a man named Laura. Laura's not androgynous generally, meaning it doesn't work for both male and female names, right? So this document we're probably going to find a new category for, but let's come back to it. Document 5, Erasmus. Oh, finally we get to our northern humanists. Okay, so the Praise of Folly, and if you're familiar with that document, you know that more than likely it's going to be about church reform. So we have one we can throw here. Document 5, Erasmus describing church reform. And if you read it more specifically, which you're going to, you'll understand it's not necessarily directly about church reform. It's about something related to the church that he doesn't like. Document 6, the education of a Christian woman. Oh, another idea about women. So this is Juan Luis Vives, not Miss Vivas's great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather. No, not that one. This is a different one. Spanish humanist Vives, not Vivas. To Catherine of Aragon, Queen of England. Oh, he's writing to the Queen of England. Oh, that's interesting because your audience, which you're going to use for your analysis probably, right, is going to very much dictate the words that you say. This document here is, it's just a strange one in my mind, but anyways, we're starting to see a pattern here. Document 6 and document 4 can be grouped together to make some sort of argument about women. I don't want to give you too much information because I've already given you a bunch of information, so I'm just going to say women here, and you need to build your argument about women. But we know that here we can use document 4, we can use document 6. So I've given you 3 documents. You need to place document 3 where you think it goes, and document 7 where you think it goes. But I'll tell you, there's no right amount of documents you have to have for each paragraph. So for instance, paragraph 2 could analyze 4 documents. Paragraph 3 could analyze just 1, and maybe these are the only 2 documents you use in paragraph 4. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you use every single document and that you analyze them. Okay? So our third theme then emerged, and you're going to make some sort of argument about women in your 4th paragraph. Background and setting. Talked about that already. We took notes in class. You're going to want to talk about the Renaissance, influence of classicism, development of humanism, what the new ideas within humanism emphasize, and then the transition to Northern humanism and Christian reform. So that's the beginning of your essay. Contextualization point. We're going to try to get this in our intro paragraph this time. You're going to relate this period of the essay to a major theme from the period, from another period. So, for instance, I mean, really, anytime there was a major intellectual movement in history, you could relate it there and get the points. So, try to think of an example to compare the Renaissance to ... and then analyze that connection. So that's still in our first paragraph, and then we're going to go into our thesis. Alright, I'm going to give you your formula again. Remember, this was our formula. Adjective or noun plus your theme, and in this case we're talking about perspectives, plus historical evidence. So I'll give you a sentence frame. You don't have to use it, but if we're going back to our thesis, remember we're always answering the question. So if the question is identify and analyze various perspectives of Renaissance writers, we want something that answers that question. Renaissance writers had varying influences and perspectives shaped by, and then you could go into your X, Y, and Z. For instance, X shaped by the major intellectual influences of their region, and then you could talk about early Italian Renaissance authors for X, right? And then build your argument. So your thesis could essentially be 4 different sentences. So I'm going to let you work on the thesis. I want this. Please send me your thesis. I'm going to post this on Google Classroom. Please send me your thesis by 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock Sunday night, okay? I'll post that. Alright, outside evidence. We talked about we have a ton of documents that we could bring into this. Letters to Livy. We could bring in Machiavelli's prints. We could bring in other civic humanists like Thomas More's Utopia. We have tons of options because we've looked at so many primary sources, which is great. And then finally, your synthesis point. Within one of your arguments, use additional information to expand your argument by relating it to additional information. I'm pausing because I'm thinking. Contextualization point. Development is... Hold on one second. Alright, this makes sense now. I'm sorry. Cross out contextualization here. I jumped up back to the second page. Contextualization is essentially your background and setting. That's why I was getting confused. So I'm going to strike through background and setting and remind you that this is actually where you're going to get your contextualization point. So make a note there. And then what I have listed as your contextualization point, that's actually your synthesis point, which makes sense. So if that's your synthesis point, you've actually already taken care of this in the intro, and you don't need to do this because you've already done it. Okay, so the last thing you need to do is outside evidence, and then you're good to go. So all you're doing is outlining all of these things. So a basic outline, you'd want to expand document 1, glorifying classicism while despising medieval age. That's actually pretty clear. And then when you actually write your essay, you're either going to use a part of that text, right? You're going to look at document 1 and you're going to use that first line and say, Patriarch describes the Middle Ages as, and then comma, in quotes, oh, inglorious age that scorns antiquity, its mother, end quote, in quotes, and then you analyze that, right? So maybe you make a note here and you write this and then you say, I'm going to use an in-text citation, ITC, and then for my analysis, I'm gonna think about his audience, which is interesting because he's writing to Boccaccio, another Italian humanist, who shares his views, and then you can describe how that would impact his writing, right? So that would be the basic idea. You want to briefly describe each document and how it fits under that heading, and then this will become a topic sentence, X. This will become your evidence by describing the document either in an in-text citation or in a summative citation, and then your analysis. So you basically need that for each one. And if you run out of room, just do it on a separate sheet of paper. Sorry, my charts are small. Alright, thank you. If you have any questions, email me, no problem. Alright, I'll talk to you soon. Have a great weekend, everybody. Ciao. Oh, one more thing. You do have a short reading assignment that's going to go with this. I'm so sorry, but it's at home still. I keep forgetting to bring the book. So I'll post the PDF later on tonight with the reading directions. So that's your second assignment.